Welcome to another edition of Around the Town with Hez Brown. And now your host, Hezekiah Brown.
Good evening. Oh boy, you're tuned in to Around Town with Hez Brown. This is a place where you get the news that you cannot get anyplace else. And not only that, but we give you a few tips every now and then on how to resolve conflict. We give you a few tips on what's going on in the community. And we have outstanding individuals who come in who are participating in really looking to do a better job and how we can help build our community. But today I think I've taken another route because there's so much that's going on in the country and there's so much talk about discrimination, and a lot of talk about prejudice, and some is talk about oppression. So today, before we start this interview, I'm going to just give you the real meaning of those three things I just talked about. When the word prejudice is used, I'm going to give you the definition of what prejudice really is so you don't get it mixed up too with discrimination and oppression. Prejudice is a set of attitudes, opinions, feelings, perceptions, or assumptions generalized about an individual or a particular group or groups. These are formed by, without having any information about the group or without the person, in disregard to facts, or based on past experiences, either negative or positive. Now, that's the real book definition of prejudice. Now, the other one is discrimination. Discrimination is a mistreatment, injustice, or differential treatment based on prejudice, bias. When we act on our prejudice, we engage in discrimination. The other one is oppression. Oppression is the systematic mistreatment of a group by an individual, a group, or an institution that has access to power. The mistreatment may be emotional, verbal, mental, physically, economics, socially, or political. Boy, that oppression is a real heavy one. Now, let me just tell you what happened. Prejudice plus behavior equal discrimination. Discrimination plus power equal oppression. So that's just a tit for the tab for today of things that I think that you should know. So you hear those words as we do on television every single day now. We hear words about prejudice, discrimination, oppression, and so on. But each one has a different meaning to what it is, you know. So you now have the definition for what they are. Now, let's get to work here on what we all about. And I thank God for this lady that you're going to hear from. She is a real, what I call community advocate. When I say community, that means everybody. Jackie Latson, who is the president of Elizabeth City Together. So good afternoon, Jackie. I'm just happy to have you here today. Welcome to the program. Mm-hmm. And by the time we finish today, people are going to know all about the activities of yourself and what you are doing in the community and what Elizabeth City Together really, really means, the definition of Elizabeth City Together. What is your relationship with Elizabeth City? Where were you born here, attended school here, or if so, what school?
Hi, and good afternoon, everyone. And thank you, Hez, for inviting me, giving me a chance to spread the word. I was actually born and raised here in Elizabeth City, right there on Lanes Avenue. Actually, the house I was born in is still standing. That is so cool. I went to P.W. Moore, and I graduated there in 1965.
Yeah, but you know, Jackie, I hear a lot of stuff about a lot of people who've done great things from P.W. Moore, and many folks leave town and come back to Elizabeth City, and I'm assuming that's what you did before.
Exactly.
So how long were you gone from, and when did you leave Elizabeth City, and when did you return?
I left in 1965, actually, and I believe that's September. I graduated that June. I was still 17 years old. So there were so many things that I wanted to do and see. I had quite a bit of family in New York, in Harlem, actually, and I wanted to spread my wings. So I did. I stayed in Harlem about 7 years, and I might as well have been in college, all the things that I learned there. And then I moved to Delaware, where my two children were born. I moved there in 72. and I stayed in Delaware until 2010. So I was there for quite a while. Had a home, was a homeowner, and I, of course, engaged in community activities there. I was introduced to Southern New Hampshire University classes about community economic development. And when we took classes there, we would fly out to BWI and then fly up to New Hampshire. It was a wonderful experience for me. We got to fly to and visit different communities who had been distressed but were on their way back, and we needed to learn how they did that. So I thoroughly enjoyed that experience.
And then after New York, you moved to
Delaware.
You moved to Delaware.
Mm-hmm.
What was your activity in Delaware? Where did you work and so on? Are you retired now?
Yes. Actually, in Delaware, I've always worked in corporate America. So in Delaware, I worked for PNC Bank. Well, first it was Bank of Delaware. But then I know a lot of people know that Delaware became the hubbub for credit card companies and stocks and bonds and all that. So we got this influx of people. And I ended up with Bank of Delaware turning into PNC Bank. And I stayed there for 24 and a half years.
And then you returned to the big city.
Then I returned. Well, there were things happening in my life that indicated that there was a change necessary. I had a 99-year-old grandmother here. I got to spend a good 6, 7, 8 years with her. When she left, she was 106. So that was amazing because she was actually the one that raised me. So I got to spend a lot of time with her, and I got to see how Elizabeth City had evolved or devolved since I left. That was interesting.
Okay. Well, as I said again, it's Jackie Latson who heads the Elizabeth City Together. Mm-hmm. Now, you know, Jackie, I've been following your career, and I know that you were a proud graduate of P.W. Moore. Mm-hmm. And there are any large number of people who are doing very well.
Yes.
Who graduated from P.W. Moore. When I hear that name to some of the elders that's in Elizabeth City now, you know, they say, I graduated from P.W. Moore
that's
very,
right.
very proudly. Mm-hmm. And not only that, but there's a special bond within the P.W. Moore graduates.
Right.
So being a proud member, Jackie, what do you think that this has have evolved into in terms of community activity? I know you was at the celebration a couple of weeks ago.
Yes.
What did you think about that? You know, was that a great feeling in that room? Was that electricity in that room?
A lot of electricity, several things. Number one, I hadn't been in the gym. I hadn't realized that the gym was the only original part left of P.W. Moore. P.W. Moore was an experience that I will never, ever forget. I'm bragging now, we had the best teachers. It was segregated. We were all black, and it was almost amazing how our teachers, from the sports teachers to the health teachers, they never let us slide anything by. We had to be young ladies and young gentlemen. We had a specific way we were supposed to dress, and we definitely did not disrespect them in any way. We had a principal named C.R. Page, who was about, 4'10" or something like that. He never had to have a baseball bat, ever. All he had to do was look at you or call your name, and you would straighten up right away. To me, my P.W. Moore experience was almost like a college experience because when we came out of there, we were college cable ready, period. We didn't have to go to college to take remedial reading classes like so many students do now, or remedial math. We were totally prepared. And yeah, we got paddled if we didn't do our homework, but seems to me that did some good.
Yes. Okay. Then I know something else. You know, I'm not sure. Are you an alumnus of ECSU? I know that you are a firm supporter. You know, even when things, the sports teams are not doing good.
Right.
I know that you're present at the
right
football
there.
games, rain, shine, sleet, or snow. You're
That's
present at the basketball games, and you're present wherever you can show support for ECSU.
That's right.
So are you a graduate of ECSU?
No, I am not. When I left in 65, most of my classmates, they stayed and they did college. I had a personal private reason for not staying, but I still am so very proud of my classmates because they are doing such wonderful things. 1965 was a very, very, very productive class. I will never, ever hesitate to give them their props. Now, from the time we were in P.W. Moore, that's when we started that allegiance, let's say, to state. State was everything. I mean, I remember marching down Roanoke Avenue with our band, and the football players were in the bus, and Elizabeth City State had all these beautiful floats. Oh my God. It was really, if people think that homecoming was something now, oh my God, back then it was an absolute experience. It was such an experience. And even though I did not stay and go to college, I will, like you said, I support ECSU in every way I can because several of my classmates work there. And we were with one the other day, Dr. Harold Barnes. And I tell him, I know he gets tired of me saying this, but I keep telling him I am so proud of what he has accomplished here. And a lot of my classmates were teachers. They taught for 30, 40 years. It's amazing. So I probably will be 94 the second time before I can get to go to college, but I'm pretty sure I would still be willing to go. We were taught, it was instilled in us to live to learn. I mean, we were actually encouraged to learn something new every day. And I love that. And it's 71 and now, and I still feel that way.
Yeah, I know just yesterday, I think it was, that I knew that you joined a group of community advocates to just take a tour and learn a little bit more about the university that we don't know.
Right.
What did you think about that tour? What do you walk away from that feeling?
Well, I walked away feeling, oh my God, I go by the college all the time. I come here for events all the time. I never knew they had an actual wellness center. That really blew me away. A wellness center so that these students, if they are experiencing, and we know now that diabetes is prevalent in a lot of younger people, they can go there and get their blood sugar tested. They can get their cholesterol tested. We never heard of such being on the campus. I thought we were going to see like the medical doctor's office or something like that. You should have seen the equipment that was in there for those students. It was phenomenal. And they even have a food bank. And even though I didn't have the college experience, I remember many times laughing until I fell on the floor about some of my college students, friends who were starving, bless their hearts. And they were telling me what a time they had getting food. And we roll up to Elizabeth City State yesterday, and they have a food bank, for crying out loud. These kids are so blessed. I know they are. But the thing that really blew me away, we went into the cafeteria where they were eating, students were eating, and there was this music playing, and the kids were just dancing and gyrating and all that. They were having a ball. And we, at first, we was like, oh my God, that is so loud. But it's not loud to them. And if it's comforting to them, the way they were free and free-spirited and so happy, I was like, oh my God, I can name at least 50 people that would love to go to school out here in that kind of atmosphere.
So I think the takeaway is that I think that those who were present, they were able to really see the inside of Elizabeth City State University, which is so important because we have a community that is unaware of all the great things that's happening.
That's right.
As you know, if something happened negatively, you know what happens with the newspaper and the news media.
But you don't hear.
I think that the other part that Jackie didn't talk about was the aviation science
I was about
program.
to get to that.
And
that was amazing.
For her to give you her takeaway on the aviation science program.
That was amazing. The people, those of us who were here, are actually from my group, Elizabeth City Together, and we had invited Dr. Barnes to speak at our meeting on October 15th, and he did, and he actually invited us to spend time with him and ECSU, and we did. He came up with a date, and we came, and it was amazing. But that department really blew my mind. I mean, the flight simulators, and they actually have a fully working airport tower. I'm like, a what? An airport tower. They have a charter school here. They have so many things here that I'm sure students that would have come from my class couldn't even imagine being there. But an airfield, airplanes, a boat, a swimming pool, I know that I had no clue, and a lot of people I know have no clue that that's there. And I personally would like to invite anybody that's listening, if you can get a group of people together, your neighbors, your church, or whatever, you need to come out here and see this beautiful campus and realize that you need to be advocating for its sustainability, because this is awesome.
All right, let's pause for a moment. We'll be right back with more Around the Town with Hez Brown.
The WRVS 89.9 High School Game of the Week returns in December, featuring live varsity boys basketball games. And your business or organization can join in on all the action. Sponsorship packages are available now. Call 252-335-3985 and find us online at ecsu.edu/WRVS.
You are now listening to Around the Town with Hez Brown.
Welcome back to Around the Town with Hez Brown. My guest today is Ms. Jackie Latson, who is the president of Elizabeth City Together. So how did Elizabeth City Together get started?
Well, we're actually the product of another meeting, which used to be called the Fourth Ward Quality of Life Community Organization. Now, that particular organization was started by former councilman and she's now passed. She's now left us, Lena Lawrence. When I first came back to Elizabeth City after being in New York and Delaware, back in 2010, I believe it was, I started to read and hear about community meetings, and if I can hear and see, I'm doing something for the community, because that's what I was trained to do. So I started working with Sister Lena, and we met right where we meet now at St. James AME Zion Church at 911 Park Street. Now, one of our members, who's also never always present at the city council meetings, is, now he doesn't like for me to call him Mr., so I'll call him Don, so that he can smile. His name is Don McCabe, and if many of you look at council, you'll see he was the one that gave us the name Elizabeth City Together, and it was because we realized, we looked around and we were the only community group there. We're like, okay, where's everybody else? The crime watch groups and the community groups kind of disappeared from us, and we're like, wow, we're the only one here. So we didn't feel that we should just be for Fourth Ward. And we noticed that people from other wards were coming because we knew them. So we said, okay, you know what? We need to extend. We need to extend our hand of invitation to everyone in Elizabeth City. So actually, our logo is a bunch of hands, and they denote different races, which is what we are. We are different races of people who want to come together to try to make a difference. One of our mottos, and we have two, one of them is, if you don't want to be a part of the problem, then be willing to be a part of the solution. And that's what we do. Our other slogan is, an educated community is an empowered community. Once a community is getting all the information it needs in order to better itself or in order to further itself, it can go, and it can be 6 people. It doesn't have to be 50. It can be 6 to 10 people, because that's what we're doing. So we encourage people to stay together in meetings. And actually, I would like to share one of our high points. At one point, it was about 6 to 10 of us, a core group, and we had invited Pastor Anthony Farabee of the Mount Church, because we heard about his program. It's an after-school program, and it focuses on math and reading, which is very much needed. So we had him come to the meeting, and we were so impressed by his presentation that we decided we would sort of kind of adopt him. Now, let me tell you what I mean by that. We heard what the school has to spend for snacks, what they have to spend for paper supplies and all like that. So we said, we can do that. So the 5 to 10 of us, every meeting, we try to bring either a snack, and they have to be individually wrapped, or school supplies like pens, paper, things like that. And I box everything up, and I take it to the Mount. When Pastor Farabee told me how much of a difference it made the first year that we did it, because this is our second year or third, I was blown away. So this little group made that kind of a difference. And I wanted people to understand that you don't have to have 55 people getting all in the way of each other. We did that ourselves, a small group. So we still continue to do that, and we're so very proud of it.
And let me just say this to add to the after-school program. You know what research really shows about after-school programs? That it is one of the areas that give kids more assistance than any other area. And here's the reason why. The reason why is that after school, as you all know, that homework really is something that should be done after school. And homework is done to review the activities of the day. Right. But if a child go home and start to watch television or start to go outside and play, they disconnect from what happened at school. What's important about after-school program, they go right from school to the program, and what the after-school program really does is that they help kids with their homework. They don't do the homework for them, but they assure that those kids are involved in getting their homework. Now, not only that, but research further shows that those kids who participate in an after-school program are most likely to succeed because they not only teach the lessons of our homework, but they teach other lessons too. They talk about discipline. They talk about respect. They talk about all the things that's important. So if you would do some research, you would find out how important and how valuable after-school programs are. So one of the things we want to do is make sure that we not only do that, because if the Mount program could be replicated at other churches, other community organizations, just by 9 or 10 other people doing this, then we would never, ever have a problem in the school district as far as kids not being able to accelerate to assist. So we want to also on this program, along with Elizabeth said it together, is to try to advocate and find more organizations and churches that will participate in this kind of thing. Because obviously this is just not a problem for the school district. It's our problem overall. Right. So we'd like to share that with you and like we do that. Now, just getting back, because I got off track, but it just dawned on me the importance of after-school program. Exactly. And we appreciate what the Mount is doing. We laud them. We glorify them for what they're doing because they're helping kids. And if you see the kids that go to that program, you will see them, if you track them, you will see them accelerating in school now. Now, but Jackie, back to Elizabeth said it together, you know, what are the major goals and objections and mission of the organization?
All right. As I said, when we expanded, we decided that we would make community education one of our target goals. And if I can, I will mention a couple of the guests we've had so you have an idea of just what we've been doing. We've invited people like the League of Women Voters. We've invited Legal Shield and Mitchell Funeral Home at the same time to educate the community on pre-planning. That was so important, and it was a very potent meeting. We got so much good information. We've had Councilman Kim Spence to talk about the state prison system. I mentioned Pastor Farabee. We've had Dr. Souvene Paranjape, who is actually my diabetes doctor. He came and talked about pre-diabetes symptoms and prevention and all that. The man could hardly get out of the parking lot. I mean, people were asking so many questions, because that's what it's about. We even had Lizette Butts, who talked about sickle cell anemia awareness, and she even brought a couple of people who were suffering from that disease, and they were telling us about what they had to go through every day. And then we had a professor to come in, Dr. Todd Savitt. He gave us the history of, can you imagine, the history of sickle cell anemia. These are the kinds of things we wanted to bring to people. We had Reverend Chip Broadfoot, who is the rector from Christ Episcopal Church. He talked about his program called Room at the Inn. We've had Agent Eddie Rodriguez from the Elizabeth City Police Department Drug Unit, and boy, did he open our eyes. We're sitting here in our little mundane lives, not thinking there's a drug problem or gang problem. He busted all of that, and he wanted us to be aware. We are right in the middle of a huge crisis, and now everybody knows about the opioid crisis, and all of them sort of kind of run together in one way. It's a bad thing for Elizabeth City. We've had Jeff Dixon, the county commissioner. We've had Mrs. Carolyn Self, who's from the American Red Cross, to give us a presentation on storm preparedness. I mean, we know that, and we've had several political guests. We try to make sure we invite both sides so that we don't, appear prejudice about politics, and you know how that happens. But we pride ourselves on inviting people like Dr. Harold Barnes to tell us about ECSU, and we go by it 50 times a day and never knew all that was there. It's amazing. But community awareness, community education is so important. I went before my church a couple weeks ago, Cornerstone Baptist Church, and I was allowed to tell them about the importance of early voting, about how important it is for people to cast their ballots, how important it is for people to realize that your one vote counts so much you'll never know. Your one vote makes a difference. So we feel pretty good about the fact that we are an education organization, a community education organization.
Now, just in case, some folks who sit and listen to the radio, they don't really have a pen and pencil in their hand. Mm-hmm. So what we're doing now is giving you time to just go and get your pencil and pen so you can write this down so you don't forget. So we're encouraging you to join us again, the time and the date and the telephone number and the email.
Okay, let's start with the email since that's the longest. JACKIELAT1947@yahoo.com. And what you can do, you can email me and say, Jack, put me on your email list so that when you have meetings, you can send me information about it so I can come. Be too glad to do that. My phone number is 619-3337. Elizabeth City Together meets every third Monday of the month, from 6:30 to 8 o'clock at the St. James AME Zion Church at 911 Park Street, right here in Elizabeth City. And we welcome everyone. And I was going to mention, but since Hez did, Joan Ellis, who's actually my neighbor, has been a undeniable help. Whenever we've needed any help, she does it. She makes calls. She makes copies for us. She does mailings. She is absolutely committed to the group, and we cannot appreciate her more. So thank you, Joan.
So again, I want to thank Ms. Jackie Latson from Elizabeth City Together for joining us today. She gave us again herself some valuable information that we can use. And I would encourage you, if you have various groups and you need her to come to speak to your group about what they're doing in this organization, I think that it would be good if we knew more about it and hear it from her and more people hear it. We're not trying to do anything but give out information. It doesn't cost anything.
Right.
So again, this is Hez Brown. So don't forget to listen to Around Town with Hez Brown. Thanks.
Thank you for listening to Around the Town with Hez Brown, recorded and produced at WRVS-FM Studios on the campus of Elizabeth City State University. If you are interested in becoming an underwriter for this show, call 252-335-3985.